All right, this is the first episode of J.A.R reviews. We're going to talk about movies we just saw, and first up we have our Jasmine. Say hello.
Hi.
And
you might recognize me from Jazz Dial 180.
And this is our Ashley.
Hi.
Yeah, or also known as Elmo. And I am your R, Rachel. And the movie we just watched is 2017's Tulip Fever, starring Alicia Vikander, Dane DeHaan, and Christoph Waltz. And there's a bunch of other people you might recognize in it. Like, she got excited because she saw Matthew Morrison from Glee, who is in a small role. And it's set in 1630s Holland during the Tulip Fever, which is when tulips were a big luxury item, and there was kind of a big there was sort of a big demand for tulips, and a lot of people were speculating on the tulip market and blowing all kinds of money to make money selling tulips to each other, and it eventually all came crashing down because you get a big economic bubble and eventually bursts, and it's kind of a lot like the stock market, the stock market in the 20s, and how it got and how it all crashed in 29. And it's about a young woman named Sophia who marries a rich and much older man. And he commissions a young painter to paint a portrait of them, and she ends up starting an affair with the painter, and meanwhile, her servant gets pregnant, and she decides to hide the maid's pregnancy and pretend to be pregnant herself. And so when the maid gives birth, she can say that the baby is hers. And so she and the painter she's having an affair with decide to speculate in the tulip market so that they can have money to run away together. And I love this time period. I love the paintings of Vermeer. The production design of the film is very Vermeer-esque, with a lot of like sunlight coming through windows and very rich 17th century interiors, and it's a very beautiful looking film. I love this time period, the 16th century 17th century. It's 17th century, 1600s in Holland. It's a very beautiful looking time period with costumes and the interiors, and I'm a big fan of the art of this period. So and the movie looked a lot like these paintings. And I'll turn it over to Jasmine, and she'll say what she thought about it.
Great. It's good. I mean, I liked it just because like it is based on a true story, and I like.
Oh, it's not based on a true story. It's based on a true time period, though.
Oh yeah, okay, fine, whatever. It's based on history, and I'm very much into history. And I really liked with Matthew Morris. I noticed him as well, of course, and then like there's a couple people from other shows. Like there's one girl from Morland was in it, and then Martian Man from Supergirl was in it. So I was very excited about that. But other than that, this movie is not my type of movies I would watch any other time other than watching it with Rachel.
And why is that?
I don't know. It just seems. I mean, it was interesting. The concept was interesting, as like the movie itself was kind of. I mean, it's better than like, let's for example, when me and Rachel saw Troy, and Clash of the Titans and Anthony and Cleopatra. It's better than those 3 movies, obviously.
Yeah,
but it's not really my type of movie.
Yeah, my personal thoughts were the 2 lead characters, I did not care about them at all.
Same.
And yeah, she says same. And the maid who gets pregnant and her whole subplot,
Yes.
I found that much more interesting. Like the maid character is the narrator of the film, and she is telling the story. She is telling the story to her daughter many years later, and this is the daughter that was passed off as her employer's child. And in the future, she's been raising this child as if it was the child of her employer, but she's telling this story to the daughter to tell her that she's her real mother. And the whole subplot with the maid is the most interesting part of the movie, because the maid is played by an actress named Holiday Granger, who is best known for the Showtime series The Borgias a few years ago. And she's a wonderful actress, and she's one of my favorite actresses. And she's really good in this role, because like the 2 leads, Alicia Vikander and Dane DeHaan, their characters were kind of just boring.
Yeah.
They weren't that interesting, and they were just sort of like your stock romantic star-crossed lovers. And you really feel bad for her husband, because he's comes across as a pretty decent guy, and he does love her, and he feels bad that he essentially bought her like property, and so he comes across as the sympathetic one in this. You don't really care about the 2 young pretty people that are having an affair. And and Ashley, what did you think?
Hello. So, I love historical romances. I like the architecture, the costumes. Well, I mostly liked the blue dress. Ooh, I'm close.
Yeah, the main character in the portrait she had this beautiful, beautiful, rich blue dress.
That was amazing.
It was a very it's a very beautiful dress. And
Yes.
so continue, Ash.
I'm just gonna hold it a little bit
Oh
further.
God, I look horrible in this.
I do too. I agree with Rachel. I like the character with the maid and her lover, and I think that their personalities are very interesting.
Yeah, they
and just you could feel the chemistry, and they just as like
yeah,
they're in love.
they had much more personality than the 2 leads, and
Yes, the 2 leads were kind of like cardboard. Everybody else was like, okay, they're there. And the only thing I could say about the rich husband is that you do feel bad for him. So he's good with, you feel bad for him. But other than that, I'm like...
yeah, Christoph Waltz is a very good actor, and he's very good in
Yes.
this. And
what else? And I love the buildings. I
yeah,
think
like
they're beautiful, like the church.
I so want to visit Amsterdam, because
Yeah.
it takes place in Amsterdam.
Yes.
I would like to go to Amsterdam sometime too.
Yeah,
Yes.
like we now really want to go to Holland. And
Goals.
yeah, Holland. Yeah, go see Holland.
Long-term
and
goals.
and
Someday, maybe.
and today we also watched a recent episode of the TV series Timeless, which is they go back to the 1950s, and it has to do with the origins of NASCAR racing.
Mm-hmm.
And the origins of NASCAR racing is it comes from in the Prohibition era, when they would smuggle moonshine. It pretty much comes out of driving faster than the cops. And
That was exciting.
yes, and we get together, we get really silly, and so we were talking about moonshine and how we could get some, and our other neighbor that lives here popped in and said, it's illegal, and we all laugh for some
Yes.
reason. And
we know that. We're not
and-
really gonna do it.
and the car chase scenes in this episode were a lot of fun.
That was epic.
And we were like, now we want to be in a car chase, and like we were,
Wyatt.
yeah,
Wyatt, call us.
yeah. If you're Wyatt from Timeless, if you're watching this, call us.
We love you.
And we were talking about how we could have a car chase without actually doing anything illegal,
Yes.
and we found out that like we'd actually probably get pulled over for speeding, so it would be illegal even if we didn't rob a bank or anything, or
get in trouble.
or smuggle moonshine. Even if we didn't do that, we'd still probably get in some trouble for speeding. And I thought it would be so funny if our neighbor popped in again and was like, what are these crazy girls doing? Like, they're talking about illegal alcohol and car chases. Like, what are they up to?
Yes.
And so, this is our first J.A.R. reviews. We got Jasmine, Ashley, and Rachel, J.A.R, J.A.R. And so, like and subscribe.
Yes, peace.